Hello, everybody. Here we all are. We're at Dhanakosa in Scotland. It's all over. We did
All
it.
of it.
For those who last saw us at Adastana, a few things changed. We've gained Jack. We did gain 2 other pilgrims who've left since then.
So we're net one, Jack.
Net one, so there were 7 of us at total at peak. From Adastana, we rode up through the country, visiting every Buddhist centre. Let's quickly do that. Birmingham, Nottingham, Sheffield, Manchester, Leeds, Newcastle, Glasgow, and then Inverness, the Highland Buddhist community at Inverness. At Inverness, we made the decision not to go to John O'Groats, which was our original plan, which I think was a very good idea, actually. John O'Groats, I've never been. I've been to Land's End, and Land's End is just a car park. I was shortly told, after we decided not to go to John O'Groats, a lady in the shop said, "Good choice, John O'Groats is just a car park." So I think to do anything spiritual there would have been a bit odd. Instead, we decided to go straight up to Durness, where we ended the journey in a place called Farad Head, which is still pretty far north. The difference in northness between Farad Head and John O'Groats is pretty minimal. And that's where we did something. Let's just put it that way. We did a ritual. It was very special. And then we turned around, battled pretty insane headwinds to get here, where we've just been on a 3-day retreat, which has been wonderful, and today we're leaving. We were just going to have a quick kind of checkout, basically, say what it's been like for each of us, any reflections. Did you have fun? Something like that. I don't know if anyone...
Would you travel with turning the wheel again?
Yeah, would you? How safe did you feel?
What was the onboard food like?
Yeah. I don't know. Should we just pop in?
I can start with something, which is one thing I found doing extended travel with groups of people, groups of friends in the past, is that you often reach a certain period of time where eventually frictions start to build and the harmony can sort of collapse. And what's really struck me about this particular pilgrimage is that that's just not been the case at all. The harmony between us all has just really kind of sustained throughout the 4 or 5 weeks that we've been going, and that's amidst new pilgrims joining us, pilgrims leaving, constant kind of changing constellations. A couple of occasions where people had to sit out for 1 or several days because of illness and then come back in. A change of terrain, moving from a spell where we're kind of put up by Buddhist centres almost every day to a spell in Scotland where we're camping basically every day. So all these kind of shifting, changing conditions that are testing each of us in our own unique individual way. And amidst all of that, I think because that's been held in the context of this being spiritual practice, it's meant that whenever a flicker of tension or dis-ease has sort of arisen, we've all been really, really good at ourselves and helping each other to kind of really nip it in the bud and not let it kind of spiral out into any kind of discord between the group. There's been a real togetherness and a strengthening togetherness throughout the whole journey, which has been just made it very, very special. Thank you all of you for taking part in that.
Yeah, I also feel like there's something about travelling through the landscape and changing your relation to the land, which was very poignant for me because I think, I joined the group at Inverness and went all the way through the Scottish Islands, which I'd never seen in their entirety before. I just got this opportunity to see the whole thing, this gigantic sweep of rolling mountains, really dramatic landscape, very barren at certain points, like very little there, and it really led me to appreciate just how much like natural beauty there is in these in the British Isles, that we don't tend to go and visit that much, but also like just seeing the landscape at all times of day as well, in all weathers, seeing the change, and then noticing like just having a really immediate sort of relationship to it by being in it. I live in London. I'm a full-time job. I commute every day on the tube, so it's like totally different environment for me. Being in full relationship with a live land, and like passing through it and watching it change, and dealing with a lot of like discomfort, from like the wind, from the rain, being cold, and learning to maintain awareness and practice through that as well. Because that's been really challenging for me, and I think that's been a really big learning point. But it's really rewarding, actually. There's a very tangible difference in my meditation, and I feel like my environment is alive as well. It's not just like a dead room in this manufactured space. So I think there's a huge value in that we've all seen, and that we can take back with us, that we don't get from normal Buddhist center practice. So yeah, just for that reason alone, in some ways I would really encourage anyone to go on a 10-year wing in the future as well, just for that. Plug over.
Hi everyone. I feel like I agree with Matt. The thing that's most struck me is the sort of the group dynamics on the tour, and for me, very much like the learning opportunities that have arisen from that. I think that I came on the tour with a certain view of Buddhism. I thought that mindfulness is what it's all really about, and that as long as I stay in the present moment, everything will just be okay. That's all I've got to do is just cultivate awareness in the present moment. But then, coming on this tour and being chucked into this really intimate social dynamic, and really finding it quite challenging at times, but in a really positive way that's helped me grow, has been it's been really, really transformational actually, and sort of humbling, and made me realise actually I didn't know that much about Buddhism as I thought I did, and there's a lot more to living a Buddhist life. It's just being able to see how I feel in relation to others and the effect that my actions have on others, noticing little tensions that arise on the road, and then having an opportunity each night to discuss those and then see how that affects it. It's sort of I guess sort of held up a mirror to myself a bit, and I think in the process I've kind of realised that this has been in a way about me discovering who I am, and that only happens in relation to other people. And I sort of feel like I'm at the beginning of that process now, because it's not something I've really given too much attention to, but I don't think it would have happened if I hadn't been on this tour and had these sorts of quite intimate conditions, but also being able to spend so much time with people that I feel further along the path than me, that are setting a really good example, and being authentic, just being who they are, and it's been inspirational for me. It's been a real privilege, and it's also given me something to aim for. I kind of feel like I'm back to square one now, but the sort of the possibility that opens up is really, really exciting for me. Absolutely, I would recommend this experience to someone, particularly perhaps someone who feels a bit like me, who maybe feels like they're not sure how to be themselves around others. It's gonna take you out of your comfort zone for sure, but that's the only way you're gonna grow. Absolutely, endorse this. Yeah.
Thanks, James.
I think what I've really appreciated is, this trip's kind of manifested in two parts. From kind of where we last saw you at Adastana to really around Inverness. It was the kind of like we're seeing Sri Ratna stage. We were being put up by Buddhist centres, by communities, all the way pretty much. There was very little time where we weren't being supported by the wider Sri Ratna community. And a bit like what Jack was saying about moving through the land, it's the kind of community version of that. I go on retreat, I meet people from different centres, I know that there's this kind of global thing that I've kind of given my life to for some reason. But actually going to each centre and meeting the communities and being fed by them and talking to them, it embodies that, that stops being a kind of intellectual idea. Sri Ratna, Buddhism in the West, whatever, that's a thing, that's an idea. It becomes a people. And that was, it felt like there was a grounding to that. It's like, when I go back to Canterbury and I'll lead the Saturday morning teaching Buddhism in Canterbury, it's like, it's connected to that, and I now feel it. I don't just know it, I feel it. And that's very special. And then, we kind of cross this kind of gateway through Inverness into the Highlands and enter the slightly more mythic realm. In some ways, things started to go a bit more wrong. It became harder. There were weird kind of incidents. Maybe Seb will talk about some of the stuff that happened for him. I got ill. It became kind of more tumultuous. The weather got so much worse. It went from being glorious sunshine every day to like wind and rain and stuff like that. As I said, we went to Farad Head and did a ritual, and I won't kind of explain what we did, but our Buddha made it to the north, and it all kind of clicked on the mythic realm, as it were. It like became a thing that we've done. And then returning here and the amazing just relief of coming to a retreat centre. I've never been to Dhanakosa before, but similarly to that sense of really getting to know the Sri Ratna community, coming here it did feel like coming home to some degree. It's like that release, an energetic release of arriving. It's been so magic in a way that I think probably I won't be able to quantify or explain very well. To plug it, if you want to find out how, you just got to come do something. Get a Buddha, stick it to the front of your bicycle and take it as far as you can, and then see what happens. Do it with friends as well, and you'll have a really good time.
That's so funny. Just to fill in what you mentioned, we camped under a mountain called Gorm, which was a kind of black, cloud-covered mountain, very ominous presence. And that was the night that you might have to blur this out, gashed my toe open. A tent was shattered, and the next day road signs lied. It was just like this mountain like cursed us basically. And I had to hitchhike, leave the team, get back to Inverness to go to hospital and have 7 stitches. And sort of through the Sangha members wound a route through lifts and buses to get to Dhanakosa, and was I literally like hobbled over the line. So that's been the kind of end of this for me, and I was saying, so I always get caught on this one. I was like, this isn't that challenging. I'm not finding it challenging enough. And then universe is like, here you go. So that was the right way for it to end, I think, for me, in a certain sense. And the thing that I'm reflecting on, listening to all of you guys just share, is like the really transient nature of this whole thing. It's been like the question that's come up most is like, what are we doing? Like, what is this thing? Is it a retreat? Is it a holiday? Is it a bike tour? Is it a pilgrimage? You know, all these words have come up. We can't quite pin it. And I think it's kind of, there's been so many starts. There was me leaving to go to your house, and then us leaving, and then there was us leaving from Buddhafield, and then we left Adderstone, you know, and then we picked up people, and then that each time we picked up people, it's felt like a different start, and then there's been so many ends to it that it hasn't really begun or ended in a kind of condensed way. As well as like, if you're on retreat, the first time you go on retreat, it's all very new. The 10th retreat you go on, it's like, okay, the building may have changed, but the structure's the same. Or the structure might change a little bit, but you're in the retreat centre that you know. Or maybe both those things are a bit different, but there's someone there from another retreat or something that you've met, you know well, or a teacher that you're following. So there's always this kind of thing that's kind of connecting those experiences. And I think with this, there just hasn't really been that. There's been the check-in that we've done every day pretty much since the start. And there's been sometimes a bit of silent riding and a bit of silence. But basically the times of practice, the people that we've met, the place that we've been in, the whole thing has been incredibly transitory. And that's why it's like it's turning the wheel. It's like that. The wheel of the Dharma is just moving in a transformational way. And by slipping into that stream, we've all been moving in a transformational way. It has that momentum. And I think all we've had to do is do it together and think about practice. And that's made it Dharmic, and that's made it do what the wheel of the Dharma does, which is transform us. Yeah, I just think that's, couldn't have asked for anything more from this whole experience. Really couldn't have asked for anything more. And I can't quite pin down anything other than that. Yeah.
What I would add to that is that it feels like, although at least personally, maintaining the practice that I usually maintain in my daily life has been more difficult during travel. I think arriving at a retreat centre has been a really good way to end it, because all of those experiences, you then realise what that's been doing, and then you start practicing normally again. And my experience of the last 3 days has been super intense practice, and we've been rejoicing in each other, we've been checking in every day, we've been doing ritual, and all of that has such, it's hard to describe how much more potent that's been for me than it ever has been. Yeah, and I've only been doing this for a week, and these guys have been doing it for like the last 5 weeks or whatever, you know. Yeah, it's just, it ups the intensity of whatever practice you do immediately afterwards, it seems, at least to me. So, although, yeah, it sounds like just thinking about practice, it's actually like, when it is actually doing something, like in the gets. So it's important to remember that as well.
I'm really excited to see, you know, we're all about to go home. These guys are cycling off to Glasgow this morning, and then I'm getting a train. We're getting a lift with my ceramics teacher, who's very kindly taking us south, and then I've got to cycle from Suffolk to Canterbury, so I've got a bit more cycling. You're off cycling for a bit.
I'm out.
But you've still got a journey to make, and as you're saying, there's no clear ending point. I'll probably have to get on my bike to go into the shops at some point in the future to pick up groceries, and in some ways that's part of this. And like Jack said, it's like that will kind of feed into our practice, and I think it's really exciting. And I just wanted to end by saying thank you for watching, but also, yeah, just a really heartfelt thank you to everyone who's supported either by giving money. If you haven't given money already, there will be a link in the description if you'd like to support our Foxton and what they do there. But all the people who've put us up, who've fed us, who've just given us a smile or a wave. We've had so many thumbs up from caravans in Scotland, lovely, cycling by. Thank you to Indra Bodhi for making this beautiful thing. We haven't spoken about him much, but he's been with us since Butterfield. He's great. He's taken a little bit of damage. I had to do some repairs, and one of his arms is threatening on falling off.
It's all right though. We've got hours of footage of the
back
camera,
of his head.
the back of his head just like zooming through the countryside.
But yeah, really thank you so much to Indra Bodhi for making this and kind of giving us this like central item. Yeah, it's been a joy. It's been an absolute joy. We may do them again.
You may.
Yeah.
I just want to say I love absolutely all of you in this room, and to Liv and Holly who joined us. I just want to bring you guys in as well because you were absolutely integral to this thing. And thank you to you, all of you, for helping us. We love you so very much. And in the spirit of this trip, I'll just finish with Gate, Gate, Paragate,
Parasamgate, Bodhi Swaha.
Beyond, beyond, gone beyond, gone all of us together beyond enlightenment, yes!
Brilliant.
Is that
Cool, yeah,
I think that's a
wrap.
wrap.
Yeah.
Right, let's clear up this room.